Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to all the attendees. And we would like to welcome everyone for this first session of the New Opportunities Standing Committee session, which is going to be on the topic of my take on leadership by former Sri Lankan cricket captain, Mr. Mahela Jayawardena. And to initiate the proceedings, I would like to invite the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, Mr. Rajiv Amarsurya, to give the welcome speech.
Mr. Mahela Jayawardena, formidable and amiable former Sri Lanka cricket captain, our very own Mr. Shanaka Amarasinghe, attorney at law, who is a leading sports commentator and of course a sports critic as well, secretary, treasurer, chairman of the Junior Bar New Opportunities Committee, convener, members of that committee, ladies and gentlemen. It is a very special day for the Bar Association to have a cricketing star with us, someone who we have known as a star for several decades. Thank you, Mahela, for accepting our invitation and joining today. We know how busy you are. That is all I need to say. We have with us, as much as we have with us a number in the audience, we have a large number also connected right now, live, via the BSL live stream. It was actually last night that my junior Matthew, who works with me, who's an ardent fan of yours, of course, like the millions across the world, he used to play cricket at St. Thomas's, and he said that he selected number 27 for his jersey on the basis that that was your number. Is that correct? Right. That's how popular you are, and that's how revered you are across the sporting fraternity and of course across the world. I don't think I've had an opportunity to meet you before today, but like I mentioned to you, Shanaka, your first cousin, was a batchmate of mine at Royal, and through him we followed your journey in cricket. Unfortunately, as I mentioned to you, Royal has not done as well as Ananda and Nalanda in the cricketing sphere, but I hope that will turn around in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Mahela Jayawardena we have with us today has scored over 11,000 test runs and 12,000 one-day international runs. He is one of the few cricketers in history to achieve this rare double, a testament to his consistency and class. He served as our captain of the national team, leading Sri Lanka to the 2007 ICC World Cup, earning admiration for his calm, intelligent leadership and of course tactical acumen. He was also part of the world record test partnership of 624 runs with Kumar Sangakkara, the highest ever in test cricket history. After retirement, Mahela has continued to serve the game as a successful coach and a cricketing advisor, including roles with the Mumbai Indians in the IPL and Sri Lanka cricket, helping the next generation and the future of cricket. In recognition of his services to cricket, Mahela was inducted into the ICC Hall of Fame in 2021, a true ambassador of sport, of course for Sri Lanka and the world. So we have with us today, proudly, a world-renowned sportsman, an ambassador, a tactful and successful leader, and foremost, a Sri Lankan product. Thank you for coming here. Thank you also to Shanaka. As much as Mahela is busy, so is Shanaka. And coming and agreeing to host today's discussion, I could not have thought of a better person than you to do this, so thank you very much. Thank you, Chandima Atapattu, who chairs this committee, Kishan Fernando Pulle, and the other conveners who are standing there, for your leadership and effort to make this event a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you for everyone for being here and also everyone joining us online. It's a great pleasure to talk to someone who now feels like an old friend because I've spoken to him for many years while he was the captain. And as Rajiv said, he scored over 11,000 runs in Test cricket, over 12,000 runs in one-day cricket. But I keep telling him, if you listen to me, he would have got 15,000 in both formats. Good to have you here, Mahela.
Thank you very much for everyone inviting me as well, and I'm glad I didn't listen to you because I would have ended up less than 10,000 runs.
So this was kind of the battle that we used to have every time that he was on my show while he was a captain. And we used to speak quite regularly then. And I tried to, because this is something for the junior bar, I'm going to not make this something or uncles talking about the golden age of Sri Lanka cricket, but something that will be relevant for most of us here in the legal profession. Mahela, I'm going to take you back 30 years almost to 1997 when you made your debut. You walked into a room with the greats, Arjuna Ranatunga, Muthaya Muralidharan, Aravinda De Silva, all those guys, Chaminda Vas. And similarly, that happens to a lot of young lawyers as well. We do well in school, just like you did. We go through law college, you went through the similar club situation, you come through into the big league, and suddenly a lot of lawyers find, oh my gosh, I'm completely out of my depth, I don't know where to go. So tell us about that experience walking into the dressing room for the first time, seeing all these people, understanding where you fit in. Explain that experience to us.
I think it's a great question. I think the first notion is that do I belong here? That comes naturally. I think the first time I walked into that dressing room, that was the '96 World Cup winning team. Pretty much apart from one or two changes, Asankaya had retired at that time, and everyone else was there. So it was for me, it's a great opportunity to be involved in that dressing room because I've learned pretty much everything I know about international cricket through those guys. But at the same time, I was very nervous. I was 20, I was just out of school, had one first-class season. But there were guys who welcomed me, Murali, Vasi, because I've just played with them at school level. But at the same time, I knew I had to respect the older generation for who they are. I still remember when I went for first test match training, squad training, I was very quiet and just went about doing things. And when I first walked into the dressing room, everyone had their own spot that they sit. So I had to wait till everyone settles in to find my spot, which was my spot at Kettarama for 15, 17 years. But at the same time, I wasn't shy to ask questions or engage in conversations without disturbing them. I think that's the most important thing, is to learn. And the only way to learn is by being inquisitive about certain things. And I was like a pest around Aravinda because we all grew up watching Aravinda, and like the way he batted during that period was something special. And for me, I always talk cricket with him on batting. And so it's about how you approach, how you get comfortable and ask questions to learn. I don't think anyone will say no to that in any environment. I think that was the key for me to settle in a cricketing terms. Obviously, when I scored my first 100 at Galle, luckily for me, it happened pretty quickly in my career. That gave me that confidence that yes, I do belong here, but I have a lot more work to do. So that's how it started. But yes, you are nervous once you walk into any environment as a youngster. But it's about having that confidence, not being, if I may use the word cocky, not being cocky, but at the same time, be humble about the opportunity that you've been given and ask the right questions, learn. Because to date, I still learn about the game because the game keeps evolving. So as long as you have that open mind to learn and be respectful of that, I think that's the way to go.
Just a quick follow-on from that. Aravinda is not the most talkative guy, and he also has his moods. You know how you have to know when to pick it, and I'm sure a lot of the junior lawyers here will know that about your seniors as well. You have to know exactly when to ask them a question, because otherwise they're a little bit distracted or a little bit busy, or they'll scold you about something that you haven't done, or scold you for something that you haven't that you have done, which you weren't supposed to do. So how do you understand with those big personalities, the Arjunas, the Aravindas, are there any tips to know when to approach them, how to approach them?
I think the tricks of the trade, I'm pretty sure that you'll find it interesting. Everyone's different. I mean, Arvinda, just before if he's going to bat, you keep far away from him because he's completely focused. He'll walk around the dressing room. He won't sit and wait in one place. And you just leave him alone. But there are opportunities to talk to him at nets after he has batted, casually have conversations. We know if he's in a good mood, then it's open sesame, then you can go for it. But other times, I mean, we all knew Aravind loved going out. And, that's how he relaxes his mind on tour, whether you're overseas or whatever. So we used to just line up and just go out with him for dinners and night outs, because that's when you can have conversations with him because he's that relaxed. So you need to pick your right moment and time and not be a pest to them. But each one is different. Arjuna was the same. Roshan Nair was the same, and everyone else. Like, you have your opportunities and pick the right time and have those conversations. And it has to be constructive conversation. It cannot be just wild things. But as long as they also understand there's something good about it, then you can keep on pushing.
Okay, that's really good advice. Thank you. Mahela, in our first long-form interview that we did, it was, 19 years ago, I think. And we talked about this at that time. You had just been introduced to the concept by Barry Richards. Don't worry about what you can't control. You told me that at that time, and
It was the other way around. Control what you can control.
control what you can control. Okay, it changed my life, right? That I've been trying to apply that ever since, and it's been very helpful. But tell me about you learning that concept at that time and how you've looked at it over the period of the last 20 years or so.
So quickly going back to the story, Barry Richards was a South African great who didn't play much test cricket because of apartheid. He played a lot of county cricket. How do you manage situations? How do you adapt to conditions and all that? And he said, guys, let's control what you can control. And for the first time, I did not understood that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll control my mind. I'll keep concentration. It was a very little that I knew that this verse would change my entire life later on. So we finished that time. He spent about a month with us, technique, adaptation and all that. But we went on an England tour that summer. And Barry was living in London at that time, so Sri Lanka cricket got him to come back. And first week it was cold. Like, England will always bring us in early summer. It's cold, it's miserable. They put you in Derby or Yorkshire, just make sure that we're frozen to death. So I struggled the first week, 10 days. Practices, I was struggling in the first warm-up game. So then I said, I told Barry, let's go for dinner. The best spent on my entire life. A bottle of wine and a good dinner with Barry Richards. We sat down, we started talking cricket, and I said, this is what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with conditions, I'm struggling with this, that. Then he took me back to the session that we had with him, and I said, remember what I told you about controlling things? And did you understood that? I said, yeah, I mean, concentration and all that. He said, no, it's not that. what he meant from that was you control pretty much everything in life. So you come to England, you don't get upset about the weather. You don't get upset about why the Englishmen put us in April. You don't worry about the wicket, the conditions. You don't worry about what the people think about you, the press, the crowd. It literally, I can't even control the guy who's bowling at me. So if Bretley is bowling at me at 150, trying to knock my head off, I can't control that. So the only thing I can control myself is preparation. So what can I do to prepare myself? I'm giving a cricket analogy. To be able to handle that. So if Brett is bowling at my head, okay, I have an option. I can duck, let it go. I can take him on. If the weather is cold, okay, I can put 3-4 pullovers. I can make myself warm. If the conditions are tough, different conditions, I can change my technique, my game plan, how I go about it. If I don't like what the reporters are talking about, writing in the newspapers, it's in my control not to watch TV, not to read a newspaper. If I don't want to talk to someone, it's in my control not to talk to someone. So it became so simple for me to understand what I needed to do in a game of cricket. And I realized that preparation was in my control, my mind was in my control, and how I wanted to go about it. So I just stuck to that. I mean, each tournament was different, each game was different, each year was different. I could control the knowledge, I can control how I go about adapting that. When I became the captain, I could control the culture, what I wanted to put into the team, how I wanted to receive the youngsters, how am I going to get input from them. All that was within my control. So I just simplify that, and I knew exactly when to switch on and switch off from the game of cricket. That was also important. What I needed to do in life, that was in my control. Who I hang out with, it's in my control. What I want to do practice-wise, holidays, making time for my friends, family, all that was in my control. No one else could control that. So the life became much, much easier, and hence the consistency, the approach, the calmness, everything just came about that. Because to the dot, I can control the time. Even to date now, like after cricket, with the work that I have, I know exactly, okay, when can I have a meeting? I give times for people because I value everyone's time. So I'm not disappointing anyone by going late or whatever. So that's in my control. That's a discipline that I have in my life. So like that, all these little things help me to build who I want to be in life. So thanks to Barry, I always mention this everywhere, and I take it to all the younger people as well. It's school cricket or in any establishment, because everyone says that it's mind over body, but at the same time, you have to understand how do you control that. There has to be a method. Everyone's different. Like for me, when I was watching the ball, I needed a trigger. So for me, the trigger was that when I tapped my bat for the first tap in my stance, that noise was the trigger for me. That's when I start watching the bowler running in and focusing on that. So for everyone, you will have that trigger. It's about how you find that and how you get that focus, the concentration. It's different to each and everybody. So it's understanding that and controlling the mind to do that.
That's an interesting point you made about how to, because you need to know, you need to have a process. when in sports it's kind of easy, Mahela. I remember listening to Johnny Wilkinson. So for those of you who don't know, Johnny Wilkinson is the guy that won the World Cup for England in 2003. Tari, I'm sure you watched that game. Good to see you here. But he was in a 22-year-old boy in the biggest game of his life. And it was full time. The scores were tied. And yeah, it was 12 all. And he was walking up and down the field. They were deciding who to bring on next, all of that kind of thing. And he said Clive Woodward, who was the coach, came and told him to calm down. And he said that was the thing that has made him the angriest in his whole life. He said he's a 22-year-old kid. He knows he needed to be calm. It's the biggest game, the biggest moment of his life ever, since he's never had a bigger moment since. And he said, I just needed someone to tell me how to be calm, not to tell me where I needed to go, how to do that. So have you been able to do that, Mahela, as for yourself and as a coach for younger people?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, each and every individual is different, and it's easier for us to say, concentrate, do this, do that. But you have to engage with that individual to find out what triggers them, because everyone's different, and help them to find that mechanism for them. Because you can't treat everyone the same way. And if we were all the same as individuals, as personalities, this world would have been a boring bloody place, right? Because people are different, that's why it's more interesting. Good or bad, you have to take that. So I've always said that it's like a drama. You have characters. In my team, I had characters. So you need to allow these characters to flow. You need them to do what they need to do, because that's how they perform the best. But around that, you put a structure in and say, okay, this is how we're going to do this. The end result is that. But understand how to manage them, how to interact with them. As a coach now, I'll be talking to each and every player with a different tone, a different approach. Some you have to put your arm around and cuddle and tell, this is what I need you to do. Some you have to push, some you have to be authoritative, some you have to do it more tactically. They understand the numbers or they understand the processes better. So that way they also have a respect, saying that, okay, this is how it is being done. So my challenge as a coach now, and my challenge when I was a player as well, was to not just say we need to do this, but to find a way how to do it. It's easier for anyone to say this is what we need to do, but no one will tell you how you can do that. And there's no right way or wrong way, but it's about finding that way. So the challenge is to find that way, what helps someone to achieve something. So it's a journey, and then you need to go along with that, and that's what it's so interesting.
Yeah, it really is interesting, and I think it's something we can take back to our professions as well. A client may come to you, or a junior may come to you, or a senior will say, okay, we have to win this case. But the question is how? What's the first step you take? What's the next step you take? And what's the step you take after that? So those are the how-to questions that I think we need to remember to ask of ourselves and also other people. Speaking of discipline, Mahela, you talked about discipline. I know you for a long time. You've always been punctual on the dot, and I really value that. And from the time that you blasted me for getting 10 minutes late for our first interview, I've always been on time. And it's a lesson that I've learned I think, to good effect. Tell me, how much does discipline matter in life? I know you like to stay fit. I know you don't like to waste people's time at business meetings. And I know you have 100 things going on, whether it's the ICC, whether it's the Mumbai Indians, whether it's your business interests. How do you manage all those things? Because a lot of lawyers also have 1,000 cases in their mind, 100 clients to meet, all of that stuff. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've learned, like I said, when I was young, to respect everybody, because you can't demand respect, you have to earn your respect. So to do that, first is you have to respect the person opposite to you, and to do that is as well, like, you have to value them, and each and everyone's time is valuable for me, and my time is valuable as well, because whatever the time I waste is somewhere along the line I could spend with my family or my kids. So the same way I will approach that. So I would like, when I'm very organized, like if you look at my phone, there's a calendar, there's a this thing, times control. So even if I'm setting up meetings, I know if I have to go from one meeting to the other meeting, and I would know where that meeting is, I would roughly say, okay, I need half an hour or 40 minutes to be there. I wouldn't like set up a meeting from one after the other, because I know that this meeting might overrun or whatever. So you have to respect that. You have to set those times in advance, knowing where to be and how to do it, or at least give that person enough time if you're changing something like that, so that they also cannot waste that time. So it's that discipline, like organizations. Like if I set up, now I'm a coach, when I'm setting up a training day, I will sit with the coaching staff in the morning for half an hour. I will draw up the entire uh, coaching schedule, how many minutes each batsman is batting, how much the bowlers are going to bowl, the workload management with the physios and the trainers. So I know that. So then I will call those guys to come for training. So I will divide, because we have about 25 guys training, not like rugby that everyone practice at the same time. So we can manage our training sessions. So I will take 12 guys up front, and then once they're finishing, the next guys will come. So there's no point me taking the whole 25 guys and ask them to spend 3 hours there, because some of them will just be roaming around and just wasting time. So every moment has to be productive in my theory. So that productivity will then create a culture. When you go into a game also, it's productive. Like the warm-ups also, we time to a T, that okay, we just need 40 minutes, we don't need an hour. So we just go there for 40 minutes, we do the thing, the toss happens, everyone knows what we're doing, and then they get into that. Because the time that we're wasting is the time that the mind just floats around thinking other things, or wandering around, not focused enough, or even giving time to think about the game, which the game has not even started. So I just feel that these are things that I've learned from being around players. So the same thing will apply anywhere. Like I know that even if I'm talking to someone, 20 minutes would be the attention span for any person, individual. So that 20 minutes is very important if I want to take a message across. There's no point in me going rounds and rounds. So it's that simple. So time is a huge motivator for me to understand individuals and all that. And I will, if I know there's a guy who's going to be late, that's someone that I cannot depend on the field for me, because that means the attitude is not right, or that you will give him opportunities, you will talk to him and give him opportunities and say this is why, but it's the nature of that individual. So you know that the responsibility that I can give to this person is limited. So you can gauge the personalities of people and then apply that to day-to-day work and all that as well. So for me, coaching a team or managing a team or being a leader is about understanding who that individual is and what he brings onto the table, and what can I get out of him, or the best out of him, and be part of that. I should know to do, for me to do that, I need to know about the person. So like even if I'm going into a season, and we usually do our training camp, so anyone that we've identified that we are interested in getting or something, we would spend hours talking to him rather than looking at the skill set. Because the skill set is something that we've seen, and but to understand the individual, does he intellectual, does he understand what we're trying to do, can he improve on his skill, what kind of personality, what's his family background, parents, brothers, uh, wife, kids, all that matters. Because I know that during the season, I know that if he's down or if he's not right, it could be something else triggering him that situation as well. So for you as a leader, or if you as a person who's in charge or controlling things, you need to know what triggers these guys. At breakfast, I can see the movements, I can see the guys who are nervous, I can look at in anyone's face and I can tell this guy is not ready for today. So that's a guy I need to take to my room and have a conversation for 10 minutes before the game. So like that, it's that simple, but that all comes with that discipline, that understanding of time management and spending that extra bit of time with people.
Mahela, you've always been quite an intuitive person, rather than maybe I guess rational is the wrong antonym. You are rational as well, but you've always been very intuitive in the sense that if I asked you, okay, why did you do this particular thing on the field, you would say, I just felt like that was the right thing to do. Whereas if I talk to Sangha and ask him, why did you do this? He would take me through every single thought process he had, right? So you're quite intuitive with people, and you can look at someone and you can understand what they're feeling, what they're thinking. Is that a skill that you learned, or was it something you always had?
I think it's a skill I've learned, and like I said, like everyone's different how they approach things. I mean, that's why like Sangha is my best mate, because we can have long conversations. Like he'll explain the whole thing. For me, it's like 2 words. And the same way, the way he trained for 2 hours, and I felt that I could get the same thing done in half an hour. So that's how I approach the game. That's how we approach the game. Everyone's different. So for me, everything has to be rational, and for me, everything has to be simplified, because I feel that the simpler the things, it's easier. But I will do all the work to make sure that the answer is simplified in any situation. Like we'll spend hours looking through data, looking through videos and all that now. But it's the same with my professional life as a businessman, entrepreneur, with my other work. Like we put time to understand the business and make sure that it's not just something that you do, but you learn from that as well. You get the right people, the right professionals, and listen to them. Because what good leaders do is listen more than talk. Because best ideas could come from anyone in the room, not just the most experienced person, but from the most junior. Because sometimes they are not too complicated. They think at a very simple thing, and which we haven't thought about. So as long as you are a listener, you can make better decisions in the long run.
So for the first 40 years of your life or so, cricket was pretty much all-consuming. How did you manage that transition out of cricket and into the business world, into the coaching world, going into meeting rooms with guys who are huge, like the Ambanis or people like that, and hold your own with them? Mahela, did you at any point feel, I'm just a cricketer, what business do I have being here with the guys, the richest people in the world? How did you make that shift?
The same feeling when I walked into that dressing room. It's the same thing. I mean, it's awkward, you question yourself, but at the same time, you know that you're prepared, you know what you need to do, and confidently engage in that conversation, and at the same time listen and learn. I mean, I've learned a lot spending time with the entire family, the Ambanis, because how they, I mean, it's a completely different lifestyle, pressures, businesses and all that, but at the same time they spend a lot of time together as a family. They have laughs, they do little things, and they enjoy life. So how they do make decisions and all that is also quite interesting. So it's for us, it's about learning that. For me as a cricketer who's finished, I was ready to leave the game. I knew exactly when I had to go. There was no doubt in my mind when I decided I was ready. And to date, I haven't like really played any serious cricket after that. I've played the odd charity game and all. But once I gave up cricket, it was done. So that's who I am. Like I have other interests, I have other things that in life I feel that I need to do and enjoy and learn mainly and be part of those experiences.
Would you recommend that to people? Because I know a lot of lawyers think law is the only thing you can ever do in life, and having an outside interest is almost cheating on the law. But would you say that that's a good thing to do, that even while you were playing cricket, it's good to know and understand different things?
I would. I mean, what is life without other interest and learning about other things? I mean, I've enjoyed cricket. Cricket has given me a lot, life lessons as well as skills. But at the same time, each and every profession is different, or whatever that I do, I'll walk into a meeting room and just listening to people how they've developed a business and what the model was, what is the balance sheet, what is the outcome. Some people are managing like 3,000, 4,000 employees. I mean, end of the day, you have to pay salaries, right? So the pressures are there for a CEO or a CFO or a directors. So how do they manage that? What is a day-to-day life of them, and how do they forecast 6 months down the line, the budgets and all that? So it's quite interesting, and each and every opportunity that you have is something new. And when you open your mind to that, you will always learn something. You're never poorer in that way.
Just a quick question for some of the junior lawyers. I know it's a very competitive space out there. There's a small pie and lots of pieces that it needs to be cut into. Mahela, you never had this problem because you were earmarked for stardom from the time you were 15 years old. So you were always going to walk into the team. But for some of us lesser mortals who have to fight for our places, you must be noticing it as a coach in the dressing room, especially at the Indians or during the IPL. Everyone's jostling. There's only one spot available in the batting lineup, three guys who've been batting well. How do you manage the tensions between those guys, and what advice would you give them vis-a-vis each other? How do you treat people who are competing for the same prize, as it were?
Well, before I go to that, I'll disagree that you can be earmarked or you can be, say, potentially you're good enough to play, but if you don't have the hunger to achieve that, you're no good. It doesn't matter the skill or the potential that you have. Potential is just something that it's out there. To achieve potential, you need to have the hunger. So coming back to your question, if there are guys who are fighting for the same spot, and okay, each one will have their strengths and weaknesses, for me, the biggest contributor in that would be who has more hunger to get to that and achieve that. I've seen it in the Indian setup more because it's a huge country. Amount of talent that they have is unbelievable underneath, and each one is working so hard. Everyone's hungry for success, and even the guys who make it knows that if they take their eye off, there's 10 guys behind you to take that spot. So it's naturally been embedded in their mind that for me to achieve something or me to get to that, I cannot let it go. So that's a huge advantage, and that is why they've been more consistent. Guys coming through the setup, everyone saying like he's making his debut, but it feels like he's played forever for the team because they've been brought up that way. So even for Sri Lanka, that is what we need to introduce. It's the structure has to be to create that hunger, the competitiveness. It's not a bad thing, because once you're being in a competitive environment, you learn things. You know that you cannot miss anything. You need to work harder. and you will achieve things because you're focused to do that. I've always felt that like anyone who has that hunger, that determination, will achieve more and more in life because they are eager to learn, they're eager to look for things and think out of the box pretty much, because that's how they will make their way.
How do you keep that environment? I guess professional is one word, but how do you keep it respectful? How do you prevent people from, carrying tales or backstabbing on the other guy who's, oh, this guy went out on a night out and he missed training, that kind of thing. How do you prevent that?
I mean, that's a culture that you have to create from day one, to have that respect. There are some guys who will not pull in the same direction. So these are the guys that we need to understand and manage them separately. But once you've created a culture over a period of time, anyone who comes into the setup gets controlled by that culture. So we have certain things, dress codes, time penalties and all that. So we make sure that everyone's treated the same way. So I don't know whether you've seen, we have this Superman kind of a costume that we put on, and that applies to including myself. So if I'm late, I need to wear that. So our best of our top players, if they're late, they'll wear it, and no one will say no to that because we've created the culture. So everyone's been treated the same way. So once they know that your skill is being judged on your performances and your attitude and your commitment, they know the selection process is fair. And sometimes tactically we will make changes, but that's after having a conversation with the guy who's going out of the team, and this is the reason, and the guy who's coming in knows this is the reason he's coming in, because the next game he might be out. We've left a guy who took 5 wickets in a match, we took him out the next game, because I knew that if I play him in that game, he might not have a good game because he's a youngster. Because once you take 5, then the expectations goes high, and I knew the matchups were not good. So I left him out for 2 games and I brought him back again. So that is a decision that we collectively make and tell the young kid as well, this is why I'm doing this. I bought you, you were unknown, we got results, but now the expectation is high. You will put yourself under pressure in this situation. And then if he goes for runs, and completely the confidence will tarnish. Yes, we will take a hit on media and everywhere, but it's about the long run. It's about protecting a talent in that situation and making him comfortable. As long as we have the communication and he knows why we are doing this, then it's fine. Like I said, I don't care about what the media or anything. I'm sorry, I don't care about what you say.
Fair enough, Mahela. Just to ask you about effective communication, because a lot of what you're saying seems to come down to communicating transparently and honestly. Again, is that a skill you've learned? Who did you learn it from? And how did you manage to change the culture from where you walked into the dressing room to where you left it, if it did change?
I mean, these are all attributes that I've learned through my career, because whenever the selectors or the coaches haven't communicated things to me from my school days, I've realized that what I've gone through to understand why something has happened. I would have learned why they did it later on, but they hadn't communicated at that point. So I make sure now that I communicate everything. There's nothing to hide, like it's a tactical call or you're not doing well, you need to get better. It's simple. You get someone to come in, sit across the table, and then have a conversation. He might not take it in the right spirit, but it's fine. You've communicated that. If you're dropping someone, that person deserves to know why you've been dropped. So that's something they deserve to know, in the sense that, because we all are professionals and you have to treat everyone like a professional in that way. Like I said, transparency, because they know that this is why we are doing this tactically. I communicate to everybody, like my coaches, everyone knows exactly what the game plans are going to be and all that. because there's no one to pass the buck. End of the day, like my bowling coaches will come up with a plan and we will go ahead and execute that, and it might not work. They know, okay, fine, they didn't do it right, but I take the responsibility as the head coach for that decision, because I said it's okay. I will not throw someone under the bus. I will say, no, they came up with a plan, it didn't work. But when something goes well, then you can't take the credit. So end of the day, you need to understand that perspective and them trusting that process as well. So everyone will then contribute in a positive way. As a head coach or a main guy, I take responsibility for all the decisions that I make on and off the field, and that's how it should be as a leader.
That shows a great degree of vulnerability as well, doesn't it, Mahela? It requires you to be able to stand up before your directors or whoever and say, yeah, this was the plan we had, we couldn't execute it effectively, and that's why we lost the game. And that's integral to leadership, isn't it? Your followers, your teammates, your subordinates need to see that you've got their back and you're willing to take the fall for something that happened to the collective.
Absolutely. I mean, if I may put it in a different way, that you should be able to walk away from a job or responsibility with your head held high, because end of the day, you shouldn't do something for the sake of doing it, or to how do I say, protect your income or protect your lifestyle, whatever it could be, because you are asked to do a job and you have to do the right thing by it, and you cannot waver from that. And as long as you have the right values and you understand this is what I need to do, and you do that, and then if someone doesn't allow you to do that, you can say thank you very much and move away and let them find someone who would do that the way they want to do it. Because I feel that, like I said, it's in my control and I can take responsibility for that. No problem at all. And as long as you're satisfied that you made those decisions with the right process, right mindset, you can walk away with it.
So that brings me to the next phase of what we wanted to discuss. When you say things are in your control, or you can control only the things that you can control and you can't worry about the other stuff, people maybe, and some of these people were not alive when you made your debut, even Mahela, unfortunately.
That too.
But the fact is that things have gone wrong in this, well, not wrong, but you've been on the wrong end of a result, perhaps, in 2007, 2011, 2012, when Carlos hit all those sixers off Mali and nobody imagined that it would happen. So it can not work out. How do you deal with that situation as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. We lost 4 finals, World Cup finals, and won 1. It was tough. I mean, sometimes we don't even know what happened for a couple of days. You go through the processes and all that, but the satisfying thing, why we all came back again as a team, as a unit, and then went on to another final, won championships or whatever, is because we knew the processes that we had put in place, and planning, preparation was right. Otherwise, you can't get to a World Cup final. So we sat down many hours and discussed among ourselves what we could have done better. But we know that as well. But it's on the day. It's on the day that you have to deliver. Once in a tournament where you're not in a knockout or whatever, you are winning knockout matches and you get to a final and it's on the day. Sometimes that's why this game, all the games are beautiful, that's why. I mean, it's just that you can't control everything in life. You can control the process, but Gilly scored 100 with half a squash ball in his glove because he didn't want the grip to move, and he scored 50 runs in that entire World Cup up to that. So these things can happen. Quality players can turn up and win a match. The same way that Nuwan and Mali bowled those last 4 overs in that World Cup for 20 runs against the most destructive batters that India had. That's pure class, that's execution. So that we had the skill, we had that. For some games, it just didn't work for us. So it's on the day, and we realized that and understand that we got to the finals. We had tactically played better. We beat best teams in the world to be there, and that satisfaction. And then we say, okay, fine, let's go through the mill again for another 4 years and be there in the next finals.
Yeah, and that's something we have to get used to as lawyers as well. Sometimes, the opposing counsel just has a good day in court, and maybe the judge, is in a bad mood, doesn't like what you're trying to say, or he's not inclined to hear what your argument is. So it's like playing a cricket match every day for us sometimes. We just prepare every night and go out there, and it's a tough one. So you're saying if you follow the processes, the results will come.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's in your control, right? I mean, you have facts, you have figures or whatever. As a professional, as a lawyer, we go to nets and we train day after day, ball after ball against different oppositions, plan and see what we can do, and that's all I can do. Control my preparation, change things, whatever, tactically, and just keep at it. I mean, that's what, like I said, each day is beautiful. And I've always said that the day that I don't enjoy getting up in the morning is the day that I will leave the game, and I did that. So it'll come a day, like as a professional, you've gone through many years and you'll say, okay, fine, I had enough. And you walk away from that and do something else, and it's in your control. Whatever happens, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, a new day comes up, right? So that's how I see things. That I cannot change. So you can have a really, really bad day today, but tomorrow again, it's a new challenge. The sun's going to come up, we're going to get up, and you're just going to go through that process. What you want to do on that day, it's entirely up to you.
I'm not sure the juniors will agree that some people would wake up one morning and decide that they've had enough. But that's an in joke for us lawyers. One final question from me, Mahela, before we go to the crowd. Is it something that, were you liked as a leader, as a coach, or is that something you don't really care about?
I mean, you can be the best person, you can be the best version of yours. You have your values, you have a way of doing it. That's why every captain is different, how they manage it. I just try to be who I was, create a culture, and you can only ask the guys who were involved in that, whether they've enjoyed that or not. I'm not able to answer that. I felt I enjoyed that period. Soon as the political interference came in and all that, I just said thank you and I walked away from it. And because I didn't enjoy it, especially what happened in Pakistan for the team and all that, because these are things that I fought for the team and I wasn't supported, and I said I cannot be a leader in that situation if I can't control that, support back my team. So I just said I'm done. Someone else can do that. So because I was in control of what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to do, and obviously came back and captain again for another year when they've asked me to, but everything was done with purpose and everything was done to see what I felt was the right thing to do at that time.
It's been a fascinating discussion. I can talk to him for hours more, but we'd like questions, please, from those of you who are gathered here. I'm sure there are a few. She's someone who's been there and done it at the highest level across the world, so please do take your chance. Mr. Dimel, please.
Thanks, Chanaka. I mean, it was fantastic to see how relatable the legal profession is, and what Mahela said. My question is this: in the legal profession, normally we look at the juniors having to look at the seniors and emulate them or follow them in their footsteps. As well as when we become seniors, we always look back at the juniors and think that they should be a certain way, or looking at where you are now. Sometimes, do you all as senior professionals look back at the juniors and think that they should be a certain way, or they should be in the same standard that you are, or do you just look away and move on and let them have their own style? Similarly, as juniors, do you think you should follow the seniors always, or should you have your own style?
Great question. I think everyone has an identity. I think you need to allow that identity to come through. I looked at my seniors and I learned from them, but I never wanted to be them because I wanted to be myself. The same way I will allow the next generation to be who they are, because now I'm a coach, been away from active cricket for more than a decade. The guys, the way they see the game is different, and how they want to play is different. It's for me to understand that as an experienced player, and for me to manage that, I need to understand that and allow them to be who they are and help them when they need help. I cannot force something on anybody. I definitely cannot force something on anyone. So my challenge is to try and help them to develop, for them to be the better version of themselves and not to be someone else. And that's something that I did as well when I was a player. Yes, I learned from Arvindaya or Arjunaya the way everyone had their strengths and they had their weaknesses as well. So I want to be the best version I can be. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've made mistakes. But what I will tell the juniors or the next generation was to be the better version of themselves. Learn, see the mistakes and all that, be the better version. Because otherwise what will happen is, like I said, you need characters, you need different personalities in life, otherwise it's pretty boring. So you need to allow them to flourish and help them to grow. That's your responsibility.
You've got to be pretty secure as a person, though, to allow that and allow that space, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not confident enough to know that I'm the best version or the best person, and then if someone is better than me, to acknowledge that. I mean, we've come across players that are much better. I've always said that the records are meant to be broken in cricket or any sport. You need people to come and break those records, because otherwise for Sri Lanka, if our guys haven't broken our records, then Sri Lanka cricket hasn't evolved then. It hasn't got better. So you shouldn't look at saying that no one should break our records or go past us. That's wrong. I want the next generation to go past us. Then we know that the game's getting better and our boys are better, the Sri Lanka cricket is better. But if they don't do that, then it's not good. It's not good enough.
Res ipsa loquitur, I think, Harith. Any other questions, gentlemen, ladies?
Good evening. You have explained the responsibility and the accountability in a different way. When something goes wrong, the responsibility, the accountability is responsible, but if something goes wrong, accountability. But
Sorry, can you just maybe, if I can ask you just please to stand up, because I think the seat is blocking the FM mic. Thank you.
Yeah.
you explained two things about the leaders. There are two things, the accountability and the responsibility. The leader has to take, something goes wrong, he has to take the accountability. The responsibility is to see the participation of all the teammates. So he showed the bowling coach giving the plan and it crashes, and you took the accountability, right? So is that the leadership should always show that that the followers make them follow him, that I can make mistakes. Thank you.
I felt like I was on the courtroom and then, getting challenged on what I've said. Yes, I agree. The thing is that the coaches, my staff, I always look at, okay, I'm the head coach and I'm making decisions on selections, tactical, everything. The support staff that I have are my team. Apart from the guys who are playing, they are also part of my team. And they should be comfortable because they are the best in that profession as well. So the bowling coaches, we've got the best guys, the batting coaches, the best guys, the experienced guys. If they don't play a role collectively, I'm not doing my job the best, because I cannot be saying my way and highway and then go ahead with it. They are all quality. So what we try and do is to get a collective decision to be made. But at the end of the day, whatever the decision is made comes under me. I have to be comfortable, and that's why I take responsibility for that and accountability for that. But they themselves will take the same accountability and responsibility as well, because they are all professionals. They are there to win. They want to do better. So when they've made a decision or they've been contributed to make a decision, they also know that, okay, they need to work harder, they need to come up with better plans, or the players will know that they haven't executed well. They have to execute better, they have to listen better, they have to react to situations better. So it's a very broader equation in that. It's not that easy, but as the leader, I drive that ship. So if it crashes, it's my responsibility and it's my accountability. Buck stops with me.
I think there was a question in front here, Pasandu. Sorry.
I'm Ravindra Anavaratna. You often said that control what you can control, and you also said that you can control your mind to some extent. So other than the concentration, is there any specific thing then to achieve this discipline, other than this concentration?
No, it's not just concentration. It's a way of life. It's how you do things. I've explained that, like how I manage my time. Is also part of what I control. Who I want to meet, who I want to be with, who I want to hang out with. I control whether I want to come here today or not. I know he pestered me for a while, but I said, yeah, okay, fine, I'll come. But that's in my control, and the time, and he was very kind enough to say, you pick a date and a time, we'll organize it. So all that is part of me controlling that element. So I can make sure that I was here on time and I'm prepared for it and all that. So it's not just concentration. You control the time you want to go to sleep. You control the time you want to wake up. You control if I want to exercise. You control what I want to eat. Pretty much everything in life you control. You have to just focus on that and think about it. You can get up 10 minutes earlier if you want to, miss the rush hour traffic. It's that simple, right? So it's that. It's not just concentration. Concentration is just part of it. It comes into when you're doing something and all that, to get into that bubble or mindset and focus on that. So I'm sure it's the same with all the lawyers, and you have a challenge, you have a case that you need to get into a bubble to understand the complexity of it, and to go through reading stuff and get the right notion. But that's concentration, that's discipline. But in life, in reality, when I said control what you can control, is there's many things that you can control. You decide when you want to have a holiday. You can plan that. You can plan everything. You decide when you want to spend more time with your parents. It's that simple. So that is what I'm talking about. That gives you balance in life. That gives you much more focus, at the same time satisfaction to do what you do best.
Make good decisions, basically.
hopefully.
Vasindu?
Yeah. Now in our daily practice also, we may encounter different oppositions. So in Test cricket or One Day cricket, there will be teams that are of different caliber in Test status and One Day status. So when you are preparing as an individual and as a team, is it with the same intensity you prepare, or do you tend to relax, or what is the approach?
No, I think the preparation don't change. Doesn't matter the opposition. I think we were more under pressure when we played Bangladesh at our time than when we played Australia or England, because we don't want to lose to Bangladesh because they were a lower ranked team. So in that scenario, if I answer your question, our preparation will remain the same. Doesn't matter what the opposition is. We individually will want to prepare because our egos are high, because we want to score runs against the best teams in the world. The same way the ego is high, you get out to a Bangladeshi attack, control how you want to do things. In our culture, the way we set up was that our preparation did not change. It doesn't matter the opposition, because we didn't want to lose a single game. That's how we go into a game.
There's a little button at the bottom.
I just wanted to ask you now, you have achieved a lot in this game as a captain, as a batsman, and as a fielder as well. But I'm pretty sure you've had your moments of failure, right? The 2003 World Cup, I remember you had a torrid stare at the crease every time. What were you telling yourself during those times? How you would handle your failures when things are not going great? I think it's important for us lawyers as well, because not every day is a great day. What would you tell yourself, and what did you tell yourself when you're having those bad days?
The way I described Barry's story, 2003 World Cup was a similar story. So I need to take 2 minutes and explain what happened. So leading up to that World Cup, I was a vice captain. Before that, I was scoring a lot of runs, and then vice captaincy was taken away from me, which I didn't have any problem with. But I was scoring runs, and my first proper World Cup, I went on the 99 World Cup, but I wasn't like, I played few games. It was my first experience, and we were tactically really bad and all that. We went through that World Cup. So 2003, we had a really good team. And why I failed? Because my expectations were very, very high. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to score runs, I wanted to control things, I wanted to do everything. And I completely lost focus. When I didn't score the first few games, were crucial games for us. And in my own word, I just lost the plot. I couldn't find myself. When I went to bat, I was looking for the ball that was going to get me out, rather than me trying to score runs. I was in a very, very bad. Actually, at that point, I went to Sanat and the coaches, which Jayawardena I played as well. I told them, like, leave me out for a couple of games, because I don't think I've got my game right, in the sense mind right to play. But obviously we were winning, and we lost the semi-finals to Australia. I scored 17 runs in 7 matches. And I went through that, and purely because at that time I didn't realize what was going on. Later on, when I sat down, went through the process, I realized this is what happened. See, I always tell, it might apply to you as well, if you want to win a case, you put expectations. Expectations equals pressure. It goes hand in hand. So you're putting self under pressure by yourself. By going into, if I walk into a game and think I want to score 100, that's a burden I carry. The 100 will come in singles, if I think about it. So I just only have to concentrate one ball at a time. But if I walk in thinking I have to score 100, it's not going to come. Because I will put myself under pressure. I won't think about the process. I won't think about, tactically wouldn't think about the bowler who's bowling. He's bowling better. I can't take a risk. For every ball, there's a game plan in our head. Every ball, I have a game plan. I forget about everything because my thinking is, I need to score 100. So that expectation puts pressure. So that's what happened to me in that World Cup. I only realized it afterwards. I was given a break, thankfully. I took 6 months off, came back, and I knew exactly how to control that afterwards. So it's about me learning from that mistake. But it's the same thing. It's me being a little cocky, me being a bit more overconfident and saying, okay, I want to dominate, and then lost it completely.
Thank you for that honesty. Mahela, any other questions?
Hi, Mahela. In IPL, as a coach, I always saw you in the corner of the dugout. But this year, you were in the line last few matches, and I think first match, Eliminator 1 and Qualifier 2. Eliminator 1 you were won, and Qualifier 2 you were lost. After the elimination of Mumbai Indians, I saw some news that blaming you and criticizing you. You were disturbed player, and Mahela's plan doesn't work anymore, like something like that. I am pretty sure you are the best coach in the IPL history. But my question is very simple. How you handle the criticism?
I didn't see the articles because I don't watch it. I just control what I can control. Yes, I sit at the back of the dugout because I see things, I watch human elements, I see the players' behavior from the back. It's easier for me to watch even the guys who are going to bat next. I see them nervous, then I'll pat on their back. Those things you won't see on television because they don't capture me all the time. I went to the boundary line because there were situations that Hardik needed help, communication. If I sit at the back of the dugout, he won't see me, and I was sending messages. So that's something that I do. Or sometimes you won't see me is because I'll send the message through another coach or another player to the middle. I use different things. What you have to understand is that I'm not blaming or complaining or criticizing people like Shanaka because they have a job to do as critiques and they see things differently, and I have a lot of respect for that. And there's nothing wrong in that as well, and it's good. But in my opinion, I know the processes I went through, I know what I was doing, and if I'm satisfied, if the group around me is satisfied with that, if the owners understand how I approach and how I do things, that's what matters to me. So if I get worried about every time that something comes out in social media or someone, you're looking at 1.5 billion different views. You would not be able to sleep at night. So I just control what I can control, and I go about doing what I can do.
If I may just add on to that, Mahela, give me a second, Ruin. My relationship with you when you were captain, I mean, we were both in our early 20s or late 20s probably, and my relationship now with the captain of the Sri Lanka rugby team, who's also here and is one of our learned friends, is very different. I think I've matured as a journalist as well, just as you have matured as a player, and so it's nice to know that every experience is an experience. It should make you better, not worse. So thanks for that. Any other questions, guys?
Hi. Just wanted some advice or suggestions that you might have on how to build team spirit, team unity, and eliminate any negativity within the team.
Yeah, I mean, great question. Like I said, first of all, see what your team is, the guys around, understand who they are, learn about them, it's important. You can break ice with a lot of activities, bonding events, But in those things, if you're a leader, give the leadership to them to do those activities and all that. Make them part of that activity rather than being forced to do something. So collectively come up with ideas what we'd like to do, and some of the things you can build organically as well. You'll never know, like over a table tennis game or a sporting event or going off for a drama, musical, this, that, whatever they feel comfortable doing, find out. It might not be your cup of tea, but it works with them. So build that connection is part of building a team, environment, the culture. So the culture that sometimes I have a sandwich theory which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. So if you want to criticize someone or something that someone has done wrong, you first should say something that they've done well. And then say, okay, this I think you could have done better or differently. And then again, finish it off with something positive. That's a good sandwich, and they will eat that. So there are different mechanisms for you to approach different people and a team to build that unity and for them to build trust. If they're part of building that culture, they own that culture. But if it's just one person who's saying this is how I want to do things and all that, they will not respect that culture, or because they are not belong to that culture or they are not part of that. So you always bring the team together and collectively create a culture, bonding, whatever. So they own that, and you don't have to then monitor them as well, because if someone is derailing, they will push that guy back in or that person back in to that culture. So that will naturally, organically will come through in that situation. So there are various different ways of doing this. There's no right way or wrong way, but it's mainly about connecting to people and at the same time giving them the ownership of that culture that whoever you want to create with communication.
Yeah, Tariq.
Hi, Mahela. Thank you so much for being here. It's really awesome to have the opportunity to learn from what many would say the Michael Jordan of Sri Lanka cricket. Something about life. I want to kind of ask you: were you ready for retirement, and is it something that you planned for, and or was it something that you just suddenly woke up one day and like, I don't want to play anymore? Or what are the steps you did? What's the transition like from going from playing, sport being your life to whatever else?
Yeah, I mean, brilliant question. Obviously, because you're a professional sportsman, captain in Sri Lanka, you will probably face that at one point. For me, there was two things that, it was me and Sangha who had this conversation because we're same age and all that. We've seen others pushing it too far, and all the good work they've done gets destroyed by some bad decisions. We always felt that we have to leave when we're at the top. That was number one. And at the same time, in our own terms. That was number two. And number three is that people should ask us, why are you retiring, and not why not you're retiring. So once you answer those three questions, you will know exactly when to leave. So I was prepared. I knew the World Cups. 2014, the T20 World Cup was in another 2 years. We won that World Cup. We announced our retirement before the World Cup. It was icing on the cake. We didn't know that we were going to win that, so we won that. 2015, the World Cup was coming up. And we knew that we didn't have anything in our engine to go for another 4-year cycle. It was time for Sri Lanka to prepare a new team for the next 4-year cycle. So we said 2015 was our last World Cup. So we knew that ODI cricket was done. It was a decision for me personally to make, okay, do I play test cricket a bit longer or do I leave? And I had a young family at that time, and I said, I'm done. I was the time for me to retire. For me to push for another 6 months or 12 months, it wasn't a great investment for me personally as well. So I said like, so I knew exactly when I wanted to leave, and I was prepared to leave as well because I had things planned up after cricket. I wasn't thinking about coaching or anything like that. I had other things which interested me. So I went and played franchise cricket for another year and a half because I hadn't played county cricket because my schedule was so tough. So I always wanted to go and play county cricket in England. So I had 2 seasons there, summer cricket, played in Australia, played in New Zealand, their domestic cricket, traveled with the family and all that. So those were things that I wanted to do after retirement. So I did that for another 15 months or so, and then transitioned to do whatever I wanted to do. So I think naturally it will come to you and say, okay, these are the smart decisions that I can make, and it has to be on your own terms and say, I'm making the call, which I feel is important.
Tari, your option after retirement is coming to Halsdorf, and you might find that playing raga is a little bit safer for you. Any other questions, guys? We've almost come to the end of our time with Mahela. I think probably a lot of you would want your seniors to watch what has been discussed here today as well, so try and make that happen subtly. Remember what Mahela said about Aravinda and how you have to approach it, so make sure you do that with your survival intact. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we have the kind of budget to afford the vintage that Mahela likes in terms of wine, but there are some refreshments upstairs. If I can ask to do the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is both honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at the conclusion of that has been an inspiring and thoughtful provoking fireside chat. First and foremost, on behalf of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Mahela Jayawardena, not only for gracing us with his presence, but for generously sharing his insights, experiences, and reflections on leadership. Mr. Jayawardena, your journey from cricketing excellence to become a respected leader both on and off the field has felt a lasting impression on us all. Your emphasis on fairness, process, emotional intelligence, and integrity in leadership resonates far beyond the sporting world. Your candid thoughts on managing teams, peers, and high pressure situations offer lessons that are deeply relevant to all professionals, including those of us in the legal fraternity. I sincerely thank to you, Mr. Shana Kamal Singha, for so skillfully guiding the conversation. Your thoughtful questions and engaging style created the perfect setting for today's dialogue. To all our members, colleagues, and guests, thank you for your presence and your attention. It is the enthusiasm and engagement of audiences like you that give events like this their true value. Finally, a special word of appreciation to the President Bar Association of Sri Lanka, Mr. Rajiv Amarsurya, Secretary Bar Association Sri Lanka, Mr. Chatura Galhena, organizing committee, and all those behind the scenes who worked tirelessly to make this event a success. As we live today, let us carry forward the values of leadership we heard: humility, resilience, respect, and above all, a commitment to doing the right thing even when it's hard. Thank you once again, and we look forward to many more meaningful conversations in the future. Good evening, good night, and safe travels.
Thank you, Mr. Chandima. Now, it's not every day that the BASL gets to host a personality who's well renowned all over the world just by his name itself. And we thank you, Mahela, for your time. And to show our appreciation, I would like to invite the Secretary of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, Mr. Jayawardena, to present a small token of appreciation to our guest, Mr. Mahela Jayawardena. I would also like to invite the Secretary of the Bar Association, the Treasurer of the Bar Association, Mr. Pasandu, to present a small token of appreciation to our moderator, Shanaka, for hosting this event. Once again, I would like to thank you for your time, which is valuable to you. And also, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your participation, which is also treasured by us. And also, I would like to remind that refreshments are served upstairs for everyone. Thank you.